I think we are.
Real live. Yay.
I think we're live.
We're using a new platform and it looks like we are golden.
Yes.
Yay, 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 yay.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
Yeah. And the last time we were doing this, it was a couple weeks before I was going on my hike.
Yes, it was.
My big
hike. We're gonna do a bit of a download. So for those of you guys who maybe new or don't know who either Lisa or I are, we have known each other for 7 years,
yeah,
almost 7 now. And in like last August or September, Lisa came to me and said, "So I'm doing this thing. And I need to make sure that we incorporate the work that we do within our training to do this thing." So it's been a pretty exciting journey, basically, between then and 2 weeks ago when it happened. So we wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit because there's so many pieces of this that we can unpack and kind of talk about and learn from and understand. And Lisa can tell you a little bit more about the experience of it itself and how it's impacted her. But we just thought it was a really, really good opportunity to share it because it was a once in a lifetime kind of thing that we're potentially looking at replicating again and again. So tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
Didn't think I would ever be saying I would be doing another one. I joined a mastermind, and part of one of the retreats was basically do a high intensive type hike. So it was 16 miles at Mount Zion on the West Rim Trail. Yeah, West Rim Trail, point to point. Found out when we were there that less than 1% of all the people that go will ever do that hike and see what we saw. Most of them will start at the bottom and kind of go, maybe 4 or 5 miles up and go back down, but none of them do point to point. So I'm part of the less than 1% because I did it.
Yeah.
And I did point to point. I finished on my own 2 feet. That was the first big goal. But in that, what happened was, I don't know, it was an amazing experience. It showed something that you always tell me, and I'm sure you tell all your other clients too, is it reminds us that we can actually do hard shit, that we can actually do the things that, if we put our mind to it and we do the work, we can actually do the things. It doesn't matter necessarily what our brain is telling us on that point, right? Our brain will tell us you can't, but actually you can. And that hike proved that. And when I wasn't, because I was focused on one thing and I wasn't over analyzing, because Danny, the trainer, he's the UPX trainer, because he could see where my brain was going. He's like, okay, you're going to focus on just doing the hike. This is what you trained for. Here's your we came up with a mantra. And because I focused on that, I was more open to just to being and to receiving whatever was going to come. And what came is nothing I would have ever expected. Apparently Lindsay and Danny did, but nothing I would have ever expected. There was mental purging, but it was like, it was a releasing, obviously, but I walked off that mountain a different person. Yeah. Like, I know without a doubt that the work I'm doing as a wealth coach and as being the sassy wealth queen, that is what I am supposed to do. I know without a doubt that I am supposed to be on stages. Like, it's just every fiber in my being. I know that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be making this impact. These are the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm on the right track, and I don't have to be scared or nervous. And I tell everybody is the wind spoke to me, and the wind point blank said, you can do hard shit. Go and set the record straight. And that was a small part of what it told me. And that is something that I keep reminding myself since I've been back. I had a conversation with someone right before our live, and I was telling you that I feel like the downloads are coming, but they're not coming. And when we were talking, he showed me how to not be here, but be more into the being and just like calm the brain. And I was like, okay, this is the reason why I wasn't getting those downloads, is because I was sitting here overanalyzing, trying to make them come and trying to figure out when they were going to come. And because I was going and not stopping to be like how I was on the mountain or how I was outside, that's the reason why. And so now I have a lesson of how I can actually, practice and do it. And that made me, I don't know, that made me really happy. It was another moment of knowing, okay, if I can do this 16 miles, then I can do something else. And just like we talked this morning, right? I was like, I'm in a funk. It was like, I don't know why, but I'm in a funk. And you were like, well, it's because your brain's going, now what? Right? You either got to rest or you got to do this, or you either do this or you plan. And so we decided, no, I don't have to. I can do this and this. And I think that's really important in business and in fitness, is to realize that it doesn't have to be either or. It can be this and.
Yes. And I think that, there's so many lessons here and there's so many things we can unpack in this. And we don't have enough time to even go anywhere.
God, no. It was we were on that mountain for 13 hours. There's no way we can unpack everything that happened in one. We'd have to, we do these once a month. We can unpack it over time, but there's no way to unpack it today.
We can unpack it. Okay. But I think, so there's a few things that I want to kind of touch base on. One of them is I want to talk a little bit about what you did to prepare yourself to get there. And obviously that's a really, really important one. And then two, that this concept of what you said about it doesn't have to be either or, right? And we live in this world where we think I can either go to work or I can rest. I can either eat healthy or I can either save money or I can go to the movies. And it doesn't have to be that black and white. It actually is a lot better and a lot easier for us to comprehend when it's and. Right? You can download all the things that happened on the mountain and look forward to what's coming next. Where I think you were stuck in that place, whereas if I leave here, if I leave this downloading space, I'll miss all this opportunity. So I can't. I'm stuck. There's like a door here.
I can't focus on the next thing because then I'm going to miss the rest of the downloads from this big thing that happened. And I can't miss those downloads. And that literally that's had me stuck.
Yeah, it's like the door was closed, right?
And what I told you it was annoying.
Yes. Well, and I think that's the thing, right? You can open the door and you can look into, what I call future pacing and look at what's coming towards you, right? It's kind of like at the beginning of the year when we have our word and we look at our kind of big goals. It doesn't mean that we're looking at anything less that happens in like October, November, December. It's just not as big as the January, February, March things for the beginning of the year, for example. So right now, the massive accomplishment that you have you've worked on and you've done with, and you want to do all those downloads, it was kind of like, as long as that door was closed, I can still focus here, but it puts you in that funk, right? And I was telling you this morning, I've done things where you do this big thing and you feel amazing. And all of a sudden you're like, well, now what? There are plenty of what's now. We just need to make sure that it's not either or. I download or I look to my future. No, now it's let's do both. And let's figure out how you can still include the downloading and the experience and the lessons that you've learned and all those things into, as well as look to the future. And I was talking to somebody this morning who's a kind of a coach that I'm working with. Her and I are kind of designing something together. And I was laughing because I was like, Lisa is one of these people who went to her coach in the mastermind at the very beginning and was like, I'm not into that woo-woo shit. Just put it out there. And then she's like, and I'm like, and now they basically call her the wind whisperer because she's the only one that had that happen. And
yeah, he's eating it up too. He is eating it up. He's like,
yeah. And I love it. And I think too, we were talking about this earlier, is that if you had gone in with any other attitude, honestly, if you had gone in even with a little bit of, well, I'll see what happens, which wasn't the case. It was more of, I'm going to do this. I don't know if you would have had such a profound experience because you would have put up a little bit of a protector wall, right? A little bit. You might not have even noticed it. You might not have even seen
But
it,
it would have
but
gone,
it would have been
there
there.
would have been a small protective wall gone up. Yeah, I
Right.
guarantee it. Yeah.
And it's kind of like what you were saying to me, afterwards, and you're messaging me and you're just like, I can't believe I didn't realize, I didn't know. And I mean, all I said to you was, I did.
I did.
Because this is the things that come out, right? You are working so hard in your body, you're not able to work in here. And as much as mindset plays such a huge role in both what you and I do and how we coach, sometimes we try too hard to do the mindset piece that we can't look at anything else. So when you are so physically in your body, you don't get to choose what goes on up here. And that's really what happens, right? This amazing openness happens. You have no walls. They're broken down because you're dealing with your feet and you're tired and you're hungry or whatever is going on in this
You mean
physical
my feet frozen in place and I couldn't move? Yeah.
Right,
My
right.
brain was
So,
telling my leg to pick up and move and it wouldn't go anywhere.
and I
Yeah.
always say, like, the logical part of you, and let's be honest, you can't be a wealth coach full of numbers and money without having a lot of logic in it, which is why we love that. We love that for you. But you also get to release that a little bit when you're so physically in your body that you cannot do anything else. Like, you're so physically there that you're focusing on the next breath, the next step, the holy shit, I'm so tired. How long has it been? Oh my God. Right. All of those things are going on physically in your body. And that's why I love this concept, because when you are so physically internally going in your body, there's so many magical things can happen. And so that's really where I kind of want to take it, because, I love that it's part of your business mastermind that this came up, right? Because, I had asked you, I don't even know what it was, 2 weeks before your trip. I was like, would you have ever done something like this if it was just like randomly suggested and you
I
were
don't
like,
think so.
hell no. But now if I said to you, will you tell everybody and anybody who will listen how
Yes.
powerful and amazing this is? The answer is, of course, yes, hell yes. Right. And so I think that's such a huge, huge thing. And I think, we often talk about health and wealth and these things that we exist in our world, from a very practical perspective. I don't want to get diabetes. I don't want to die of disease. I want to look after my financials. I want to be in a good place for retirement. Very logical. But when we think about the bigger picture, when we think about becoming, a different person now that you've come off that mountain, you are never going to be the person that you were 2 weeks ago, ever.
Right.
And that means in your business, your relationship, your health, your wealth, everything is going to change. And I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because that is powerful shit, man. That is like, holy smoke. So if I turned around to somebody and said, if you really wanted to transform, and people use transformations and health and wellness and fitness and, and I'm just like, man, I'm not talking about just looking a different part. I'm talking from the inside out transformation. This is the kind of thing that you need to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been telling people since I got off the mountain that, that, and I even told Danny, I says, you have a UPX hike, I'm there. Like, done deal. I'm there. Because the transformation that you experience isn't one you expect. I mean, every one of us that went, even the ladies who did, the narrow and didn't do the point to point, they even experienced, something, because they took in what Danny said, and they made sure that they got an experience too. And but that point to point and being, y'all, we were over 8,000 feet elevation. Okay. So I swear I'm that close. I could touch the sky at times, it was just like, holy crap. But just seeing that gorgeousness and just, I mean, we were away from we had no service.
Right.
We were just, it was as unplugged as you can get. Right. I mean, we had service some, but I had the little outside earbuds right on, and I had my music playing. So I could still hear everybody talking, but I had some kind of noise in my ear to remind me to keep going. And it's not like anything you will ever think, and it's hard to explain at the same time. But it's transforming. It changes your life. And when you come off that mountain, by that time you're you're tired. You're like,
Yep.
holy shit, I did it. Oh my God, my legs are going to fall off, and then you're like, I did it. I mean, I think I sat on the floor in the hotel room for probably about 20 minutes saying, I need to get a shower. My legs are nasty. I had the heat rash. My feet were nasty. And just the thought of standing up just didn't, I eventually did, but it's like you start taking it in and you want to pinch yourself. Did I just do this?
Yeah.
Did I actually just do this? And, I've told you and I've told Danny, I want to prepare for, I want to do another hike. I want to do more hikes because, and like he said, the next time you do the 16-mile hike, how do you put it? It won't feel as hard as the first one. And I mean, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard, but for me, it was the emotional and the mental, from the purging that actually made me tired a lot quicker physically, which made me realize, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and you've said it, and I've said it to you so many times over the last kind of 4 or 5 months, is that you really can do hard shit. And we underestimate how we do, as long as we give ourselves the opportunity to do it. And to be fair, we live in a world right now where there's not a lot of stuff that we do that are super hard, right? I mean, that's just how it is. So it's interesting because when it comes to making the decision to train for something like this or to do something to this extreme. And I say extreme because 1% of everybody who's been to that park, that's extreme, right? We're no longer talking about just working out 3 days a week and watching our eating, which, as I said, when it comes to health, that's what people think. I'm going to move, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to do those things. But when we talk more extreme, whether it be sport, hike, run, whatever it looks like for you, it's not that big of a difference to what you were doing before. And this is kind of where I want to bring it back, because I think people might sit there and think, oh, that's crazy. She's insane. That's insane. But what you did was what you were doing before, and then we just added a few extra things into it. It didn't, for me, obviously telling you what to do, it didn't feel like it was this massive, massive undertaking. But what you got out of it was such a huge, huge transformation.
Yeah. So, when we first started, so like I told you in August, so I've signed up for this mastermind. One of them is a retreat in Zion, and we do a 16-mile hike, and I'm going to do it. And you were like, okay. I said, so whenever the stuff comes out, I want us to start training. So we didn't start training until January. Mm-hmm. You know me, I'm not going outside in the cold. That's just not happening. And right when Danny started sending the stuff, I made sure I sent it to you. Y'all two have connected. So, like he even put on Facebook, our girl did it. So he knows I was communicating with you the whole time. Then whatever plan we had, I let him know so he would know I was doing the work. Because he said, if you're not doing the work, that this isn't going to work, because we have to work as a team. And what we did is we had my 4 regular days. We amp up the weights, right, to stronger, more weights. And then at first, what we did was we added 2 extra days with just regular treadmill. So just walking on the treadmill because it was cold. And again, I'm not going outside in the cold. And then you gradually upped the incline, changed it to incline on the treadmill. And then we added the backpack to the treadmill on the days I was doing the treadmill inside. And then when it got warmer, we were like, okay, now go for the 4-mile hike. Then but make it a moderate. So we found a place we could go. And then we did, I think it was 9. And then we did we were supposed to do 10 or whatever. We ended up doing 13 because we got lost. we got turned around and Chris said, no, we got lost. We were lost. So we ended up doing 13, and then we did a 9. And so those hikes prepared us, and we practiced like the things that you and Danny told us to practice with the water, practice with the, the eating and the electrolytes and all of that. And then on top with that, we added treadmill after a workout because you wanted me to, and it was an incline with the backpack being tired. So it was a gradual progression. So it wasn't, okay, you're doing 4 days, boom, we're up in the weights. And now you go and we're adding 3 more days and it wasn't, so it didn't seem like a lot because it was a slow progression, over it. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things I sent to him was, oh, she's having me do the treadmill. And he went, and I said, with the backpack filled with water and everything else, like I would be hiking, doing the alternate between the incline and speed. And he goes, music to my ears. He's like, I was like, because it's not warm yet, and I'm not going outside until it gets warm.
Well, and I think that's the big part, right? I mean, we've talked about this multiple times on this podcast and on this and on your podcast and like in general, is that you got to meet where you are, right? And if I had come out to you and been like, okay, let's go for a 13-mile hike tomorrow, you would have been like, when? No. Like it just wouldn't even have been an option, right? But
like,
it's a build. Yeah, you're like, no, thank you. It's a build, and I think that's really important when people, when it comes back to, as I said, whether it comes back to money, whether it comes to eating, whether it comes to fitness, whatever mindset. It's not, okay, if the gurus say you have to do all of these things. I use meditation as a really good example because most people understand if I turn around to you and said, okay, now you got to go do an hour's worth of meditation, they'd be like, what? No, start with a minute, right? And then build from there. And that may never get past 20 minutes, and that's okay too. And so it's this idea of really understanding that you don't have to go to the extremes, what people think. Like, Ben and I did a podcast a few weeks ago called The Athlete's Mindset. And most people were like, well, an athlete has to be X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, actually, no, an athlete's anybody who moves their body in a place where sometimes it's hard. And let's be honest, I mean, this morning in your workout, it wasn't hard in the sense that we pushed, extreme, but it was hard mentally.
Hard. It was hard. But those 5-pound weights felt like they were 10 or 15. Okay. And people, for record, I lift like 50. So for the record, those 5 pounds, the third round, if you noticed, I couldn't actually lift them all the way up. It was more like this. And I was like,
yeah, what's happening here?
These are 5 pounds. And they felt, that's why I told you, these things feel like they're 10 or 15 pounds. But you're right. It's the same thing with money, and your finances. If you focus so much on you have to do everything all at one time instead of a gradual progression, then it's going to be overwhelming and it's going to suck and you're not going to do it.
Right.
But I was able to do the hike because I prepared for it. And you're like, okay, you're here. We're going to start here. Then you gradually added the things. And I kept asking you, are we adding something yet? No, not yet. This is all I'm doing. And you gradually added, and we did it far enough in advance that we could gradually add it, right? To where it got to, I was doing stuff, 6 to 7 days a week. And then that last week you said, okay, now we're tapering. I'm like, huh? But you and Danny both had warned us that we were going to start tapering. And I was like, huh? And at the same time, though, it made sense because I'd already prepared and I had the energy to go and do the thing. But it's the same thing with money as and your wealth and around the 5 wealth codes. Don't concentrate on all of it and try to do everything at one time. One small piece, one step at a time. It's kind of like, habits, right? Get into that habit, get used to it, let it be second nature, then gradually add more. Now, is some of the stuff you're going to add be slightly uncomfortable? Yeah, sure. The first time she told me to alternate each incline with the backpack that weighed, on my back, it was hard, and I did it. And I continuously did it because I had a goal in mind, and I reminded myself of that goal.
Exactly what I was just going to say. So here's the thing that I was talking to another client of mine about. It's like, if when you first came to me way back when, 6.5 years ago, whatever, you're like, I want more energy. I want to feel good in my body, like all of those things, which again, don't get me wrong, they're amazing goals. But when you turned around to me and said, I have a hike on June 3rd, 2024, we now have a tangible, concrete date that is not movable because you were going on this retreat mastermind. And the difference is I want to feel good, I want to lose weight, or I want to do these things versus here's my goal. And the reason I love that so much is even I've just experienced this myself on my whole kind of experience of finding my own goals, is that it makes you so tunnel vision towards that goal that even on the days that you really, really didn't want to show up, right? You did, because the goal was there, and it was a big enough goal and a scale, we call it like that big, hairy, audacious goal, whatever you want to call it. It was big enough. And I think, for me, even personally, I haven't had a goal in my journey for a really long time. And when I clicked over and was like, nope, I need this goal, my entire eating, exercise, mindset has completely changed. And I am so focused. And does that mean I'm perfect? Definitely not. And it's raining today. Fair weather runner, just so we're clear. Raining today. I'm not going outside, but I have a race this weekend. I have a race in August, and I have another big race in November. And I am so focused on those goals that all the things, and I say all the things because it's all the things that you were doing, I was doing before, but now it's in such a pattern and a space and I'm proving to myself that I can do this because I have this goal. It becomes so much, and I don't want to say easier because it's never easy, but simpler to follow because it's there.
It becomes something that you realize you can do.
Right. And in the baby steps, and I always say this, right? If we had started at the 16-mile hike or whatever, you'd be like, hell no. We started and we built and we built and we built. And that's exactly, when you think about wealth, when you think about financials, when I think about business, when I think about health and fitness, that's how we do it. And that's how it should be done to have the most success. I was talking to somebody who actually was a client and has come back because she's like, I found I can't do it myself. I totally understand. It always works this way. And what happens is the most success we see, especially my husband and I in our business, and I'm sure you can say the same thing with you, Lisa, is that the people who consistently do the best they can over time, long term, are the ones that have the absolute best results. The ones that are stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, they're the ones who struggle. And that can be money, that can be food, that can be fitness, that can be mindset. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Tell me this, in the last 6 months of training, you missed some workouts, you had some trips, you had some things.
Yeah.
Right. So
life happened, but in the last 7 years, like September will be 7 years that I've been working with you. The biggest thing is I've done, like you and Ben even tell me, I've been consistent. Have I been perfect? Hell no. Have them been workouts I've missed? Yes. Have I gotten inside my head and missed workouts because of it? Yes. And I still consistently, more than not showing up, I showed up. Like today, that's the reason why I messaged her. I was like, okay, I had this. She's like, just show up and we'll just do some work. And we both got to see, okay, the work that we did was minor compared to what we normally do. And it was a good workout. And at the same time, I'm like, holy crap. And that tells me, okay, I'm in this funk. And if I can move and keep showing up, then I'm gonna get back to doing the things that I was doing. And, even you're saying this is normal, but doing small steps and doing it consistently gets you to more results. Basically, being the turtle and not the rabbit.
Yeah, actually,
be the tortoise and not the rabbit.
and that's it, right? The turtle, the tortoise, whatever the story is you listened to or knew when you were a kid, they always win because it is the slow and steady, right?
Steady.
Ben and I call it the boring basics, right? The boring basics are how you get results long term. I always joke about like the fitness Instagram influencers or TikTok or whatever. The shit they're showing you is for TikTok and Instagram. That is not the shit that they do. The boring basics, it's the sleep, the water, the lifting, the moving, the walking, super boring.
Being consistent every single day.
Yep. And that's with even, obviously it was a big big goal to do Mount Zion, it was still the boring basics that you did. You still got on the treadmill, you used your backpack, you went out for your hikes on the weekend. There was not, and I say this a lot, like it's not rocket science in the sense that, and I'm sure you say this about money too, it's doing those things over and over again consistently, and you will get results. The end. And I say it's not easy because it's never easy, but it is that simple. And what happens, and that's why we're cut the noise, simplified wellness, is that we try to complicate it because it feels like it's not enough. I turned around to a client the other day, and all I wanted her to do was take her large sweet coffee, sweet, whatever it's called, to a medium. That was it. And she's like, well, that can't be enough. And I'm like, well, actually, over a year, if that's all you did and that was the only change you made, it's 22,000 calories. 22,000 calories. Small change. It makes a massive impact, but we feel like it's not enough. So then we're like, well, we have to do all this and that and that and that. And then all of a sudden we're overwhelmed and we aren't doing it. So all the things that we do, whether it's money, fitness, nutrition, if you're focusing on the boring basics, or if you're focusing on where you're at and building from there, that's really where you see the most success. You're never going to turn around to a brand new coaching client, Lisa, and tell them to open up the 17 savings accounts that you have, right? No. It's never going to happen, because even at 3 or whatever, I can't remember what number you told me originally. I was just like, what? Like it was still outside of my own comfort zone. It's just like if I had turned around and told you were doing burpees with weights, you'd be like, I'm out. You start where you're ready.
I'm out.
And then you move. And I think that's the most important thing. And, when it comes to diet and fitness industry, for sure. But I know the taboo within the money and mindset and health and wealth is that we just need to focus on doing those things without the complications, because we can. And once you consistently do it over time, you're going to get the results. And I think that's the beauty of it. But most people just think it can't be that easy, because the fitness industry especially tells you it's not. You got to do all the things. You got to do all the things. I'm like, no, you don't. You just got to do the basic things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that's it. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same way, with wealth, building the wealth and creating, retaining, expanding wealth and money. And you think you got to do all the things. And that's the reason why I created the 5 wealth codes, spiritual, energetic, mental, physical, and financial, because if we focus on each individual area and we build off of that, you're going to be able to truly build wealth, and you're going to be able to focus on the different things, because you're not trying to do everything at one time. And it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, so Lisa and I discussed this morning that we're trying to keep these a little shorter. Because even though we like to talk and we probably have 1,000 more things we could tell you, we are going to try to keep them a little bit shorter. So we are going to be continued till next month. Every month we do these. So you can join us for that. If you guys have any questions, or if you're curious on what Lisa was doing, or if you're curious on what it's like to do some type of big, crazy event like that, or anything that we talked about, please let us know, because then we can answer your questions while we go live next month.
Yeah, very much so. And we do this, the fourth Thursday?
No, the third Thursday of every month.
The third Thursday of every month. Yeah.
The third Thursday of every month. So we will be back.
For you, the record, when I look this way, there's a big, huge wall calendar that I look at it's a big, huge year wall calendar with all the things on it. So
yes. So yeah, so July something, third Thursday in July. We will be back for our next Candid Conversations.
Yep.
So, but guys, thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate it, and we'll speak to you soon.